what happens when you make it on a team. It's the more pivotal moment is what happens when you don't make it on a team, because you can go a couple different routes. Specifically, if you want to be a part of a team or at a specific studio, it is very easy to, if you don't make it onto one, go find another studio or go find another team that you can make it on. But I think what takes a lot of cojones is to, wait and train and work for what you want, rather than just going for what you might consider second best. And I can tell you, how many people have done that? That, year 1, year 2, we were like, it's really hard, we have to say no. And then they came back year 3, 4, 5, and they're just absolutely crushing. Like, it's happened so many times. And it's because they waited. They didn't just go for, this team is going to accept me. Like, if you really want something, go after it. Don't just give up if you didn't make it the first time. But sometimes it's just, you need another year. What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Studio North podcast. We are your co-hosts, Scott, Carmen, and Tommy Forsyth. Give it up for Tommy, ladies and gentlemen. He is back on the podcast after a short break, and he looks excited to be here. Don't you, buds?
Yeah.
So we are excited to be back here on the podcast. It's been a couple weeks, busy things with Tommy and so many things going on in the Studio North universe. But we are excited to be back here for another episode. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you all, and we're excited to be back.
Sorry,
So maybe what's been new? What's new at the stew?
Well, it's summertime. So one big thing, we got AC.
Woo! AC, baby.
Been long overdue. So
yeah, it's actually pretty crazy to think about how long we went without having air conditioning in the studio, which you would think is, pretty important, but it's a huge investment. And when we were just starting out, there was no way we could afford that. So that's been definitely a huge upgrade. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from both Vancouver and Toronto, because we installed in both studios, which is a big investment.
Yes.
Right, Tommy? Yeah. But that's been big. So, if you haven't been to the studio yet and maybe you were hesitant because it was so hot out, actually come to the studio. It's actually like frigid cold in the studio now, which is awesome. But yeah, that was a big upgrade that we made to the spaces.
yeah, specifically in Burnaby and Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mount Pleasant came with it, so that was very nice, right? Oh, nice drool.
So that was one big, that was a project too. Like, it's specifically for.
You were on the roof.
Yeah, there's so much that you think it's just like pretty simple, but there's like multiple units, then you got line sets, then you've got temperature gauges, then you've got humidity controls, drain lines. It's like it's a pretty big operation.
And it looked a little like Demogorgon-y for a second.
Yeah, before we wrapped it did look like Stranger Things with all, what are those? Tentacles or yeah, Demogorgon. That's a great reference. Well done.
Thank you. I think Issa said it.
Nice.
So shout out Issa.
Shout out Issa.
The boss. Squirmy wormy.
Yeah, so that's been a great upgrade to the space. Mm-hmm. What else has been new at the stew?
What else has been new? We celebrated 3 years of Studio North Toronto.
Jeez! Pew, pew, pew,
and
pew.
so we flew down for our biannual show. Annual,
yeah.
Called Studio 6.
Six.
Yeah. Tommy did great on the flights.
Jeez.
Did great at the show.
Well, yeah, okay, pause there. Talk about that. Tommy's first flight. That's huge.
Yeah.
So traveling's a big part of our life, obviously. We've been on many flights. Carmen has the amazing sleep gene where she can sleep on anything that's moving. So whether that's cars.
It might be low iron, not
trains,
which I found out in pregnancy.
Automobiles, airplanes, before we're even off the runway. Carmen, I just look over at her. So we were really hoping Tommy got her genes, and it looks like he did, because he did great on the flight, didn't you?
Buddy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did great. What was that? First time taking him on?
Well, Scott was
he's Scott. You.
Thank you for referring to me in the third person.
It's been a while. Okay.
It has. Hey,
Okay,
it's all
okay.
good.
You were at HHI.
Yeah.
So, and it unfortunately lined up at the same time. So we were trying to figure out if I was going to fly alone with him. But luckily, one of my besties, Melissa, shout out Melissa, was able to come with me to Toronto. She wanted to go for a little trip. So it was so helpful having another person just there.
So what do you have to like, for those that might not know, like what do you have to bring?
We bought a travel stroller.
Travel stroller, yeah.
I feel like not necessary, like you can use your own, but because ours was nice and new, I didn't want it just thrown around on the plane. So I bought a travel stroller, which he hated at first, which was awesome because he's still a small guy. So we used the bassinet, and Scott had the genius idea of flipping him.
Yeah.
So that he could see. He would always cry because he was facing
outside. He couldn't see mom.
He couldn't see mom or dad. So I thought it was sweet. But also, I just bought you a new stroller and you didn't like it. So got a new stroller. We bought car seats.
We brought the car seat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Without the bass.
Without
that
the
was
bass.
very helpful.
Yeah.
All about the bass. But yeah, we learned the seatbelt version, so that was fun. Learning that. Honestly, I was the one that was nervous. I was like preparing. I was like, I knew Tommy just rises to the occasions and is always great. And I knew he would just sleep. He's a sleep monster, right? Yeah. And so yeah, just mentally preparing was a lot for me, but we did it.
And you had a ton of help, like
Yep.
when you got to the airport,
Yep,
people
everyone
are
was so
super
friendly,
nice.
yeah.
When you got a kid.
Yeah, they're extra nice. They like put all my things through security, put it back in my bag for me. I was
That's
like, oh,
nice. They don't yell at you for.
No.
Does anybody else have that where they just like yell at you every time you pull up and they're just no laptops, no phones? It's just like, okay. But they did that whole for you. And then they get mad at you when you don't do it, but they just did it all for you. That's nice.
True. Yeah, that's nice. So shout out Air Canada.
Come on, get us a sponsorship. What's good? We fly so much with Air Canada.
We do.
That Aeroplan. There we go. We're putting a pitch deck together and throwing it over to you, Air Canada. What you gonna do? But yeah, that flying is just a whole nother beast with yeah. Okay, you're a champ. So I was in HHI, or I was at HHI teaching, and then flew directly to Toronto, met you there, and then we flew home. Let's circle back to Toronto because we don't want to forget about the amazing show. But just on the travel tip, coming back from Toronto to Vancouver, we were on a overnight flight, so we were taking off. We got delayed, so it was pushed back to like 11:30 p.m. And you just were an absolute champ with him. Literally, you just held him in your lap. You straight raw dogged it for 6 hours. No headphones, no iPad. Like there's this trend right now that's called like raw dogging on flights, and it's like a dopamine detox. So you just look at the flight map for the whole flight.
I didn't even have a seat in front of me.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You go, okay, yeah. So you had literally nothing.
Yeah.
So that's even better. But anyways, there's this trend where it's like because we're always so distracted by devices.
Yeah.
So a bunch of people on TikTok are now just going on flights, and they're like long, like Australia, going from like 14-hour flights,
That's
no
crazy.
headphones, no phone, no iPad, just looking at a flight map. It's wild. I don't think I could do it, but you freaking did it with him for 6 hours.
Well,
I was in and
technically, I
out
was
of
just
consciousness
staring at
because I was
him.
so tired, and I just look over at you, and you're just literally holding him, looking at him for 6 hours.
Yeah.
No, you didn't even stand.
I think I did once to rock him back a little bit, but then it got turbulent. So then we sat back. But I journaled on my phone.
Okay.
And
Maybe when I
at
was
photos and
passed
videos
out.
of him.
Okay.
But
no iPad, no headphones.
But I also couldn't reach for all that or have that. Like,
I mean, your husband could have done that for you.
Yeah, but you were passed out.
Okay. Let's take that part out. I'm a helpful husband, okay? I do help.
You are. You would wake up and be like, can I do anything? I'm like,
Yes.
you're fine.
Can I do anything?
Are you
No.
okay? Everything okay? Yeah.
So that was, traveling with a newborn.
Crazy.
It's wild.
But also, I think it's easier because he's not crazy squirmy wormy just yet.
He's a good kid, man. He's awesome. I know every parent says that. about their kid. And I know we're only 4 months in, but he's just a big beauty. Like everyone, he's so easygoing.
Yeah.
He's been to four shows.
Yep.
He's been to 4 shows already. Concerts, we should call them, because that's really what it is. Dance shows that he's been to, and he's just a star. Everyone loves him. So thanks for being so easygoing, buds.
You're welcome, Mom and Dad. Oh.
Oh. So we were talking about
Toronto
and the show. So Studio 6, which was such a good show. We had like, I think 18 or 19 pieces of our faculty that set pieces for the show, which was so sick. And it was so cool to see the whole Toronto community come together and put on this show. Sold out a week in advance, which is wild.
For Toronto.
For Toronto, who generally waits to a little closer to last minute. So that was so cool. Location, it was dope. We're going to have to already look for a bigger one, though, because we sold out. So that's a big win. But yeah, I think it was just really cool because that was our first time back, us 3, since Tommy was here. So it was really cool to be back at the studio, just connecting with everybody again and introducing them to Tommy. I think that was pretty special because last time...
Yeah. I'm going to say mama. Oh.
Can you say mama? Mama? Just smacks the microphone.
Like the light.
Last time we were there, he was in your belly.
He was
and
in
you were
my
teaching.
belly. Yeah, that was crazy.
Which was wild. So it was cool. It's cool to introduce him to the fam, and everyone got to meet him and chat with him. Yeah. So shout outs to the Toronto community for being so welcoming of a newest Studio North member.
Yeah. And welcoming of us in general.
True.
For the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And we're very honored and grateful to be there and to have helped build something, and just see how much it's grown.
Totally.
And yeah, anytime we go back, I'm like, it feels that like I know we're a part of it, but like I think the better term is like, yeah, we were welcomed into it, and I'm really grateful that we were welcomed because they have the East Coast energy. There's Screwface Capital we've talked about before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it gets lost on us. Like you might think, like, oh, you've been open 3 years now, like it's normal. It's like, I mean, the operations, yes, and like how we're running the studio, we've got a system for sure. But yeah, it definitely doesn't wear off on us when we get to go to another community that we don't live 24/7, and them, welcome us and be open to sharing a bit of their culture and city with us. It doesn't wear off, and it's really, really special. So shout outs to you, Tirana. Not Toronto. No, Toronto. We got called out hard for that. HHI, I mean, that happened too. Yeah. So that was cool to...
Scott is the HHI legend. Goat, everybody.
No.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there more to say?
I was just going to talk about the experience of teaching being back. I think last time I was there was 2018. I taught in 2018. So that was Studio North, pre-pandemic. Oh, yeah, it was wild. So it was really cool to be back because for those that might not know, HHI was kind of how I got my start with Brotherhood.
Yes, sorry, that's where I was going. I didn't just randomly scream.
No, it's okay.
Scott's the HHI legend.
It's all good.
I
appreciate the support.
Okay. Sorry, but you go ahead.
But yeah, so it was over 10 years ago, 2013 and 2014 when Brotherhood went to HHI. And that was kind of like our first international competition. In 2013, varsity category, the boys came first in the world, and then we went back the next year in the adult category, and then they won first place again in the adult category back to back. So and then from there, I think we've talked about this before, how I feel like my career as well as Brotherhood's name was just like doing this for those from like the years 2013 to 2015, 2016. So it was cool to be back where it all started, and it was just really good energy. Sometimes I think HHI can get a bad rep, and experienced dancers, no one's not prone isn't the right word. Everyone knows, like you there's a formula and you follow the formula. And what tends to happen though is, a lot of teams tend to look the same, or a lot of routines tend to look the same. And I get that. And like, I've been a critic of that as well. Specifically with the scoring and how kind of sometimes how strict the rules are. But going back, and maybe it was because it was happening at the same time the Olympics, but just going back and really being back in that environment and just seeing 50 plus countries all coming together in one space and sold out an arena, and everyone's repping for their country. And they're like fired, like they're good dancers. And I think it's because of that requirement that HHI requires you to include at least 3 street styles. And I know there's so much controversy around to that. A new way to pronounce. I think that's how the British say it. Controversy, right? Instead of controversy. Some people say controversy.
You should
controversy.
say your British accent.
Please don't come after me. It was a skit. Bad man. Yo, we have to link that in the show notes. That was classic college humor back in university days. Anyways, back to what we were talking about, HHI. So yeah, there was it's the including the street styles, and sometimes it can feel forced. I get that. I've heard all the arguments for and against it. I would say going back, I think in the past years, I've argued, it can sometimes limit creative freedom, whereas other competitions, you just have the full gamut. You can do whatever you want, and full choreography, creative freedom. But I do see the benefit of requiring, dancers and dance teams to incorporate certain street styles, because that's where the foundation is, and that's what you need to build on top of. But if you don't have that foundation, then you're just kind of building on top of sand. Like, it's not, you need that in order to then go and explore creative movement and choreography. And so I think it was just cool to be back and kind of see that. This is by no means a paid ad. That should be another sponsorship. They should sponsor. We should send a pitch deck to HHI. Right. But yeah, by no means is this sponsoring HHI at all whatsoever. But it was just cool to be back in that environment and at that event. And so all the people that came out to class, shout outs to y'all. It was really cool to see, 50 plus countries all in one room, just dancing together, having fun. Competition was basically, done at that point, other than finals at night. And so it was cool to just vibe and teach and link up with some old friends. And yeah, so very, very cool. Very cool experience. I would very much recommend it. If you haven't been to HHI, I think go check it out. Yeah. That's how we really grew up team wise. That was that's what we went and we experienced. We were at the very first HHI mega crew. We competed and got third.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we came third the first year it was ever with Bray's team. So it was a cool event. I think, would love to know your thoughts. What do you think about HHI? Leave a comment down below. But that was also what's been new.
I just love what's it called? Rehearsing and all the prep leading up to it. It was always fun in the summer. And then just meeting everyone around the world. I feel like that's the only competition at the time where I really felt connected to other dancers, because other comps are only a day or not. All of our friends in New Zealand, Australia, that's where we met them, not the SoCal comps. Yep. So yeah, I love, that was a great time. Yeah. HHI was a fun time.
Yeah.
Everyone should go at least.
Yeah, at least try it out once. Check it out. Shout outs to Apex from the studio. They also competed, did an amazing job. Shout outs to them.
Shout out Victor.
So yeah. What else has been new at the stew?
Auditions.
You read my mind. Nice.
Synced.
So we're on our 5th year now, which is pretty wicked.
Wicked.
I'm trying to throw in some different phrase. I always keep saying the same thing.
That's true.
Crazy.
True. I always say it's really cool. Is it really cool?
Is it really cool?
Are you just saying that?
So from the year number 5, which is wild, and had auditions. We had over 250 dancers come out, which was dope. So much talent in the city. This is our 5th year now of doing competitive teams. Feel like we're always leveling up. We're always learning new things every year. And so it was just really cool to see that many people come out.
Mm-hmm. And want to be a part of the community and what we're doing. So thank you for coming.
Heck yeah. So speaking of auditions, why don't you share? What would you say are some audition tips for somebody who's looking to audition for, let's say, like team specifically, because that's really where we have, you know, our realm or our circle of influence has been around, you know, dance teams rather than like, let's say, auditioning for like a role in Broadway or on tour. So let's say you're wanting to audition for a team. What would one piece of advice? Let's start off there. One piece of advice you would give.
Well, I feel like, I don't know if this is specific to Studio North, but training specifically, like taking classes from the teachers or directors that you know will be leading the teams, showing face beforehand, I think gives you it's not bias, but it's showing like you're serious about being on this team. You're showing interest in being part of the community. I think that always helps us during auditions, like making those decisions. Maybe another one, like just audition-wise, is like don't give up. Have good energy. Okay, shout out Candace, because I remember this was, I think, for a senior select audition. She ran off during one of the audition runs, but she was so good that me and another director like fought for her. But I'm like, if she didn't run off and she just stayed on, like I think everyone would have been like, okay, like we'll take her. But I just always remember her running off, and still to this day.
Not exposing her.
Sorry, Candace, love you. Sorry. But
totally.
Example of don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. The going back to the first one you made, I think what it also does, like by showing face and by taking, you know, the class of the director, if that's even possible, I think what that also does is that helps in case you do have like a bad audition, because we all have bad days. There's days where, you know, things are off. Maybe we ate the wrong chicken salad, or, you know, the vibe is there's something that just threw you off that day. And we've all had that. We've all had bad auditions. And so what the benefit, though, I think, of, you know, being around the studio or taking classes from that director is if you can build that network, you can build that relationship, you can show like over the course of time, like, hey, this is like my average, like this is my average skill level. Then it's not only solely dependent on that one day. Whereas if you aren't around and then you just show up and you only are being judged off that one audition, that 1 2-hour period, and there's so much that can happen in a day that can completely throw you off. And so, yeah, I think to your point, that's a great one, is, you know, especially if you're wanting to be a part of a community team, like being part of that community, like going and taking class and hanging out and showing face. I think that's a huge, I think it's a great piece of advice.
Do you have any other pieces?
Oh, do I have some piece of advice? Yeah, what would be a good one? I mean, this sounds crazy. It sounds like it's from a Dance Moms episode, or like something that your mom or dad might have told you, but like wear something unique. I know it sounds so stupid, but it really helps when you've got 250 people that you're trying to audition for. And I mean, bonus points if it's Studio North gear for our audition specifically, or like whoever you're auditioning for. If you like wear their merch, that's a big, like, it shows that you're supporting that crew or you're supporting that team or that studio. So I think that's a big...
These are new noises.
Yeah.
Speaking of, this is our core shirt.
Jeez! Pew, 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 pew. Available now at thestudionorth.com. Head on over and grab yourself some Studio North merch.
Yay, Tommy.
Best model. So I think that's a way to stand out. But yeah, just trying to wear something other maybe than like blank black tee, blank black sweats, I think helps you just be memorable.
Because I mean, you would do that in you would do that at like an industry audition, like you want to stand out.
For sure.
So
okay, other than that piece of advice, if I had to give another piece of advice, it'd probably be what do you do when you get the no? So, because we've all been there, right? We've been on both sides of the audition seats. We've been auditioning, and then we've been on the other side judging. And we've all been through, we've all gotten no's before. We all haven't made it to certain teams. And so it's not so much, in my opinion, it's not so much what happens when you make it on a team. It's the more pivotal moment is what happens when you don't make it on a team, because you can go a couple different routes. Route one is like probably the easiest one, which is to get angry, pout, and to, tell yourself or, mumble under your breath like, oh, they don't know what I have to offer. And then to basically just go somewhere else and audition somewhere else instead. Yeah, so that's one route. Why I oughta. Another route you can go is, just like get mopey and like beat yourself up all over it and, get really sad. Quit dance altogether, which is definitely not the answer. What I would say, door number 3 is the best option. If, there's door 1, door 2, door 3 is, hey, yeah, it's okay to feel a little bit of disappointment. That's totally normal. That means you actually like care about it and you want to be a part of it. So disappointment is totally fine. But then it's deciding, hey, I'm going to take the year to train. I'm going to take the year to work my butt off. And I'm going to come back next year. And I'm going to show these judges what they missed out on and why they should have asked me to be here in the first place. That is the most like healthy, I think, way to handle a no in a given situation with an audition. And I think there's also something to be said for it, specifically if you want to be a part of a specific team or at a specific studio, it is very easy to, if you don't make it onto one, go find another studio or go find another team that you can make it on. But I think what takes a lot of, what's the PG-13? Takes a lot of cojones, courage. Courage is a good one. Is to, wait and train and work for what you want rather than just going for what you might consider second best. Is to say, you know what, no, I really want this. I'm not going to settle. And I'm going to make it onto this team. So I'm just going to show up and I'm going to put the work in. And I can tell you how many people have done that, year 1, year 2, we were like, it's really hard. We have to say no. And then they came back year 3, 4, 5, and they're just absolutely crushing. Like, it's happened so many times. And it's because they waited. They didn't just go for, this team is going to accept me. Like, whatever the team is, doesn't matter if it's student or anywhere else. It's just, if you really want something, go after it. Don't just give up if you didn't make it the first time and go to, team number 2 that is going to take you. Like, no, that's, to me, like, that's a cop out. Like, work your tail off and go back, rep hard, kill the audition and make it onto the team that you genuinely want to be on. But sometimes it's just, you need another year. You need another year of training. And so that would be my, I guess piece of post audition.
Great advice.
I don't know. Might get me in trouble, but I think it's valid. I think it's true.
I think we might need a little breaky.
Oh, okay. Take a 5 buds.
Just needs to stay.
All right, we're back, aren't we, buddy? Oh yeah. Not necessarily, Studio North news, but just other general news was recently breaking at the Olympics. Which was crazy.
So crazy.
I was so giddy. It was happening at the same time I was at HHI, and so we were just trying to stream. They had it in the lobby bar, so everyone was watching it there, but then I was literally teaching during finals, so I just had it on my little on my iPad. Shout out Logan from the States. You are an absolute beauty. Yes. I still remember you taking classes down at like Snow Globe back when you were like 11 years old, and then to see you now represent for your country and just absolutely kill it on stage. It's so dope. So make sure you go support Logan Logistics on Instagram. She's an absolute beast and she killed it. And then we got a big shout out to our man Phil Kim. Pew, 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 pew. Canada taking home the gold. So epic.
First ever breaking
at the Olympics.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, all the emotions. I think for me too, specifically, it was because breaking was how I got into dance, and so it just was really cool to see it being shared on that platform, and just thinking about how many other people saw that for the very first time, and maybe that's going to spark some inspiration in them to get started in breaking. Yeah, and then just obviously seeing Canada up on the podium and Phil just absolutely killed it. Yeah, but I mean, there was all the stuff online with, it drove me nuts. Everybody talking about why is this in the Olympics?
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my goodness. If
Exactly,
you
Tommy.
keep keep that same energy for rhythmic gymnastics, acrobatic swimming, BMX, freestyle riding, skateboarding. Like, where is the same? Keep that same energy for all those sports. I didn't see any comments about that and those not being sports at the Olympics, and yet they're just going to go after breaking. Like, it's just so ignorant. Like, just get out of here. Just get out of the car. I was this close to literally ripping people in the comments. And then we had a baby, so that took way more time and a priority. But otherwise, if you weren't around, I would have just started ripping people in the comments because they're just so ignorant and they're just dumb.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating. I understand the argument that it's an art, 1,000%. But what's to say that something can't be two things at once? It could be a sport and an art.
Yep.
You don't think there's art involved in like every other sport? Absolutely. Like, yeah. Anyways, that was just something that kind of rattled my gears, was seeing people not, understanding that why breaking is in the Olympics. And then turns out that it's not going to be in the 2028 in LA. That being said, I'm pretty sure if we lobby hard enough, I'm pretty sure
It'll come back.
it has to. Like back in the States where it started.
That's true.
And like if you looked on a lot of like the videos on social media, the ones with the highest engagement and the highest views were breaking. Because it's phenomenal what they're doing on stage. And then you compare that to, okay, I'm not going to hate on other sports because, I'm not going to. But the amount of views that were, I think it just goes to show like how popular this could be and how entertaining it is to watch. So I think we can all just continue to lobby and press the Olympic Committee, whoever they are, of why breaking should be in 2028. And if not 2028, if not 2028, then, what's to say 2032?
Yeah.
Bring it back for 2032. But I think it should be back 10,000%. It needs to be in the Olympics. I think it's, and I would say out of all dance styles, I would say breaking belongs in the Olympics the most. That's a maybe controversy statement, controversial. But I think out of all styles, I think that belongs in, the OG, how it all started, but then also just the acrobatics that are involved, the skill level, the endurance, like those are athletes. You see how ripped they are? Like, geez, that was me back in the day. What were your thoughts?
What were my thoughts?
If you have any.
I feel like you said
Did I say it all? Sorry.
No. Well, just, going back to like Logan or B-girling in general, like I think that's really inspiring for young females to see. I remember wanting to try, but I was just not gifted on the floor. So a little terrified. But if I was younger and maybe a little more brave or like saw B-girling when I was growing up, maybe I would have been more inclined or inspired to do so.
Yep.
And it was just cool seeing, she was the B-girl, the Free Afghan Women with the message.
Yep.
Do you know?
I don't remember her name, but I think she got disqualified because of that.
Because of that, yeah.
But the fact that she was like, F it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah, or like that's how the art is incorporated into the sport. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And just knowing people, I was like, this is so cool. Like, I don't know anyone like at the Olympics
personally,
ever.
Yeah.
So Phil, Logan, even seeing
Tayo.
Tayo.
So dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the commentators were hilarious. They were so funny.
They love Phil.
They were rooting for him so hard. It was so, it was, I mean, obviously no bias because they weren't the judges, but it was just so funny to listen to them. And then, it was good. So make sure you go watch. If you haven't already, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are watching. But if you haven't already, make sure you go head on over and check out those Olympics and then smash that button at the Olympic page that votes for what should be coming up for the next Olympics, if there is one. If not, just continue to share on social media and talk about it on platforms like this one. Right, buddy? Yeah. So there's a lot of opinions in this episode. I got one more. I got a hot take.
Oh, do you do?
Yeah, I got a hot take. Not necessarily not dance it has nothing to do with dance. This is my hot take, is going to the mall and seeing people use the elevator that is specifically reserved for strollers and wheelchairs. I'm Metrotown. I'm specifically referring to Metrotown. Thank you. And these bozos I'm clearly trying to get into the elevator with Tommy in a stroller, and these high schoolers. Are you telling me not to tell the story? Should I calm down a little bit, maybe? And these high schoolers are riding the elevator when there's an escalator literally 10 steps away.
Okay, yeah, if it's stairs, I'd understand, but
No.
escalator?
Even if it was stairs, you are able-bodied. You should be taking the stairs. Do not take the elevator. First of all, it slows everybody else down. But second of all, you're clogging it up. You're clogging it up for the rest of people that actually need to use it. So that's wheelchairs, people that are wheelchairs, handicapped, if they have, injuries, if they're in a wheelchair. That's what the elevator should be used for. So I'm sorry. I'll call them. I was so ticked, but I had you, so I couldn't really do or say anything because I didn't want to bring any negativity around you. But I was upset, and that is my hot take. So if you're at the mall and you don't have a child and you're not in a wheelchair and you don't have an injury and you don't have anything that's like preventing you from taking the stairs or at least the escalator, like please don't use the elevator. Let that be reserved for people that actually need it.
Yep.
That's my hot take for today.
I agree.
I just had to share that. I know, nothing to do with the studio.
Well, yeah, it would be a hot take if I disagreed, right?
No, like a hot take is just like a take that's hot. It's a controversy. Or it's like you could disagree and there might be some like fights in the comments. I think that's what a hot take is.
I see.
Do you have any hot takes?
Oh.
Do you have a hot take, buddy?
What's been an inconvenience lately? No change tables in bathrooms.
Yeah.
Or like having.
That's not really a hot take. That's just like true.
Oh.
You should have change tables. You know what I mean?
Okay. What other things have been inconvenient, Tommy?
You don't have to have a hot take. I just had a hot take ready. It was there. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't prep me. I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
I thought I had one in the. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was my hot take. Why don't we go through some, throughout the season of this podcast, we've been asking for people to, he's starting to grab. We've been asking you all to drop a comment, to like, share, subscribe, smash that subscribe button with us. And we have a few comments here, and a few questions that I thought from our Q&A. Why don't we throw this out? So this first one is... This is the comment. Love the podcast. Come on now.
Aww.
What have been some differences in Toronto and Vancouver's dance scenes that you have noticed? Good question. Great question.
I think one big one is just based on like geography. So Vancouver or West Coast is more inspired by like California, collegiate scene, those competitions. So our movement is more clean, catered for big groups, and just more West Coast. Like you can stage, yeah. And then Toronto, again, close to New York, East Coast energy. They just like big, not messy, big raw
movement.
Yeah. So I would say full body.
Full body, like a good wine. Or expressive, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like very like, oh my goodness, I know exactly what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, whereas sometimes I find like Vancouver movement or just West Coast movement, if we're overgeneralizing, we're definitely overgeneralizing. But where it's more... polished isn't the right word but it's just more maybe
intricate.
Yeah, probably intricate.
Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Like musicality too as well. But I feel like with the Toronto's movement as well as like New York, birth of hip hop, it's just like expressive, big, filling up space, letting you know how they feel and what they're trying to express, which I think is so dope. So it's not even like definitely one isn't better than the other at all. I think they're both so
just,
dope,
inspired
but different.
By
different
areas.
And obviously there are teachers in both cities that are influenced by they have other influences.
Yeah.
So again, it is a huge overgeneralization. But if the question was being asked, which it was, I would say that's probably the biggest difference. You kind of nailed that. Great answer. All right. Next question. What's the process and requirements for teacher recruitment? Love your teachers. Hey, come on now.
Okay. Similar to what we kind of mentioned with auditions, just genuinely being a part of the community, taking class, showing face. It just shows, your intention of like being a part of the community first rather than just seeking an opportunity. That doesn't have to be specific to Studio North. It can be anywhere you are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's wherever you're trying to teach. That really shouldn't be the first time you're going there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you're just moving.
We shouldn't receive an email like, hey, I've never been there before, but
would love to teach. Yeah. Unless you're from out of town, that's a different story. But if you're local, I think that's a great point. And I think as teachers as well, you're called to be a leader in the room, but also a leader in the community. And so how are you expecting to be a leader in the community if you're not part of that community? So I think that's what's...
I can't snap.
I think that's a really great point. Experience is a big one too, like getting that experience. When it doesn't have to necessarily be teaching only, especially if you're just new to teaching. Like we've got... shameless plug, Up Next coming. So Up Next is an opportunity that we are giving to new and upcoming artists and dancers and teachers that we believe are up next. And we want to give them a space, a safe space where they can experience teaching a drop-in class in that setting, what that's like. And so that's what we've been doing with Up Next. And it's also an opportunity for, dancers to support up and coming artists or their friends that they really think, maybe those people really want to make dance a career. And here's an opportunity because we have such a high bar at Studio North specifically of who teaches at the studio. Sometimes it is that question like, well, okay, well, how can I teach there? And so this was kind of one way that we're trying to invest into the next generation and provide more opportunities for them to eventually become Studio North faculty is through not just this opportunity, but through this, we're also incorporating a mentorship program where we're, taking specific individuals from the Up Next SLA and, investing into them, spending time mentoring them, and just trying to kind of teach them what it's like to be a teacher, teaching how to teach, because it is a whole nother skill set. So there we go. Shameless plug.
Love it.
Do we have another question here? I think we do. So I've noticed a lot of dancers who were competitive / high level back in the day being anxious about coming back to class because they're not at their prime. How can you let them know it's okay to come back? Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's hard. I remember one of my friends who did start taking class after a while saying how before it was like dance was their everything, like it was their life, and then to take a huge break from it, then to come back and you don't know anybody, like I totally understand that's such a mind game or shift. One small thing that I've seen my friends doing is taking class together. They have a group chat. It's so cute. They say what day they're coming, and they commit and like plan to it. So definitely not like a YOLO spur of the moment, because then I think your thoughts will get to you and be like, okay, I'm just not going to go. I'm going to push it back again. Yeah. So just bring a friend, plan for it, and just don't put so much expectation or pressure on yourself. Because, I know we are so welcoming and we want people to come and have fun and enjoy. But when you were in it competitively before, I know that's like a huge shift to do it like just for fun or like recreationally. Like, what does that look like? And so, I understand the shift because we didn't grow up doing that as often, I feel. Like we started through teams and then I would say drop-ins kind of afterwards started later. So just know it's different and it's okay. Yeah. And you just have to keep coming back more than once. Like don't expect your first class to be amazing. But we have shout out. Shameless plug. We have a lot of different levels. Even though if you competed back in the day, you still got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. You don't think you need to go to an intro or But if you need to build your confidence,
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's just like anything. It's like riding a bike. Like, yes, if you know, from this this question, like competing at a high level, being like really good dancer, it's like kind of like riding a bike and then not riding for a while. It just takes a couple runs to like break that rust off. Oh, right, buddy. And then it comes back. It really does, just like anything. Nah. Okay. Yeah, building off that, I would say first point being, if you were competing at a high level, I think we're all our own biggest critic. So you might feel like you're not as active anymore, and it's going to be hard. But if you're competing at that level, like it's kind of like riding a bike. Like, yes, if you take a couple years off, it's just going to take a couple rides, shake the rust off, and then you're going to be. But it comes back if it's been ingrained in you. It's just like anything. So I would say, cut yourself some slack. Don't put all that emphasis just on one class, but like plan if you do genuinely want to come back to take a couple classes, level down, gear down. So, if you're an advanced dancer and you're coming back after a few years, start with an intermediate class, even a beginner class, just for fun, just to get used to the environment, get used to being in the class setting again, trying to memorize choreography, because that's a whole nother skill. I would say come back, cut yourself some slack. Start at a lower level. I think those would be, two pieces of advice that I would give. And then my last thought would be, if you're coming back after a long time, chances are no one knows who you are, which is a great thing. It's freeing. Like, you'll come back into class, into a community, and no one. You don't have to worry about that, maybe that judgment of, I might mess up and, people know me, or they might see my face and recognize me. The turnaround that happens in the dance community is crazy. Like there's a cycle that happens every few years, and a lot of dancers stay, but there are a lot of dancers that leave. And so if you've been through a couple of those cycles, like our generation has, chances are you're going to walk into class and you're not going to know a single soul, and they won't know you either. So that should also give you a little bit of freedom, that there's no expectation. It's not like you were the only one that quit or that stopped after a while and everyone else kept going, and then you're going to walk back into class and see all these faces. No, like chances are you're going to walk in and no one's going to recognize you, and you're not going to recognize anyone, but you're going to have an opportunity to make new friends and new connections and have a good time in a Studio North class. So please come and don't feel any type of way. We would love to have you at Studio North. Nice. So with that being said, we're going to wrap this episode up. And with that, we're going to be wrapping up season 1 of the Studio North podcast. Pew, 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 pew. So it's a great season, and we're just getting started. And we're excited to be back with another season. This is just going to give us a little bit of time to prep and interview and film and plan out our season 2. But we made it through season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Proud of us. Good job. Let's go us.
Thank you, everybody, for listening
and
tuning in and being interested. We're always really appreciative when people say, listen to the podcast.
Totally. It does mean a lot. And it obviously, this is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And so it would really mean a lot to us if you let us know if you liked it and if you want to see more of these podcasts, because we'll do it. And active ways or practical ways, I know we always do the smash that, all the reel at the very end, but practical ways that I think that you can help let us know is, leaving us a review on wherever you listen to podcasts, leaving us a comment. That's also super helpful on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening in. Also sharing it with a friend, engaging with clips on social media. These are all just like little ways that lets us know that you're interested in the podcast and you'd love to see more seasons coming forward. We're going to do it regardless because we're coming out live and hot with a season 2, but I think it would also just help our team out to know if this is not just if you're interested in, but what are you interested in? Letting us know, what do you want to know? Who do you want to hear from? Which guests do you want on the podcast? We've got a whole nother coast of faculty that we're going to be talking to, which we're really excited about. And yeah, we'd just love to hear what you want to know here on the Studio North podcast. So let us know in the comments below, in the Q&A section on Spotify, in YouTube, on YouTube. On
Instagram, you can email us.
Yeah, you can email us, the old-fashioned email. But those are some practical ways I think that you can support the podcast. And if you've got any hookups, come on, Home Depot, Apple. Who did we just mention? HHI. There's another one that we did. Air Canada. If you got some contacts, hit us up because that's going to help us continue to produce this podcast. So send over the family members' emails. With that, we're wrapping up season 1. It's pretty crazy. We did it.
Crazy. We did it.
We did it.
It's crazy that he was on inside.
Yeah, when we started this, he wasn't even here.
Yeah.
Was he?
Well,
did he exist?
Context. Yeah. We've recorded our first one in June of 2023.
Yeah.
Didn't
it was bad.
a lot of
it
our
was bad. We
episodes.
saved everybody from that episode.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
So there were a few runs like that. So I found out I was pregnant in end of August.
Yeah. So even before he was a thought.
Yeah.
We were doing the podcast. It's crazy.
I thought it was a little more epic in my head.
No, it's true.
Yeah, okay.
And then now we have a whole nother co-host
Yeah.
on the Student North podcast.
It's very demanding. I don't know if I want him all the time.
He's doing great.
He's great.
And you're doing great.
Thank you.
The
We're
champ,
doing
the
great.
GOAT. So with that being said, any final words, last thoughts before we wrap it up for season 1?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
See you in season 2.
See y'all in season 2. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, like button. Make sure you hit the like button, comment, all the things. You've heard us say it a million times here, but we really do appreciate it. Once again, we will see you on next season of the Studio North podcast. Peace.